let me move along, man.
50s of the chaos. Many have seen images from the 1950s of the chaos created when Brown versus the Board of Education ushered in the racial integration of America's schools. Those students on the front lines of the progress felt their fight would lead to more diverse classrooms and better opportunities for students of color. 70 years after that landmark court ruling, our country has a more racially diverse group of students, but many of America's schools have now resegregated. ABC's Ika Jachi explores what that means not only for current, but future students.
Just like millions of other high school students, Ava Pittman starts her journey to class taking the bus. But that's where the similarities end. You see, this daily trip starts long before first period, just after dawn breaks.
I used to live in Forest Hill, so it was like a 15-minute walk. But now it is probably an hour and 30 minutes on the bus.
Every morning, Ava makes the 14-mile, hour-and-a-half journey through Queens from Far Rockaway to Elmhurst, just to get to her school, MELS, the Metropolitan Expeditionary Learning School.
I have English first period, I have music after, and then I have pre-calc, which is going to be strenuous. And then after my last class, we have speech and debate practice. So we have practice till around 5.
Sister knew that math was gonna be hard. Yeah. This is you important blacks into these schools because these schools have quotas too. A lot of these schools have diversity quotas, so they important blacks into these schools from black neighbors. She's probably one of the best students in her little black area, and they poaching them and bringing them to these schools, which makes their schools even worse. Makes the black schools even worse.
School.
I have English first period, I have music after, and then I have pre-calc, which is going to be strenuous. And then after my last class, we have speech and debate practice. So we have practice till around 5:15, and I probably won't be home until around like 6:37, depending on how long I have to wait for the bus, the delays. Hopefully anytime before 7 I'll be happy with. And then I have to do homework, shower, eat, go to bed.
What are the schools like around your neighborhood in Far Rockaway compared to the schools around MELS in Elmhurst?
Schools in certain places like Far Rockaway, the resources are minimal. It's just the quality of education, it's different. I do a lot of things that are like...
Those schools get more funding than any other schools. We've already debunked that. It's the Sun Turds.
Yeah, we definitely know that.
It's the Sun Turds. And she can't say that. And listen, she might not know that because she might have been educated with all these big, I guess, Juice Crew words. The Juice Crew told her all these big words to like describe what the effect that sons have on a school or area. But I think the problem at her school is that the kids come there and it's a social setting. It's not a learning setting. It's a social setting. There's fighting. There's all this other shit going on there that has nothing to do with learning. But she blames it on underfunding and shit like that. Yeah, Gladys. Very interesting, man. Sisters learn this shit. And listen, she's going to grow up to be somebody that'll fucking vote for Kamala and fucking try to like protest for George Floyd.
Schools in certain places like Far Rockaway, the resources are minimal. It's just the quality of education, it's different. I do a lot of things that are like inside the school that I couldn't take with me to another place, if that makes sense. I co-founded an affinity group called BAM, which is Black at MELS. I'm also part of Education Student Advisory Council. My speech and debate team...
She started a group called Black at MELS. So she's already, separated herself and divided. They already have their own black group.
That's what these niggas do. They go wherever they go, they gotta have their own black shit. And then, but they're the main ones. Like, man, I don't feel like I'm a part of the institution, and feel like I feel like I can't embrace who I am and all that bullshit. It's
Yeah, they
fucking
should
stupid.
build a university in her neighborhood so she doesn't have to travel 90 minutes. That's what she wants.
Let me say this though, I don't really disagree with that, to be honest, because people of different groups should advocate for their different groups. The problem isn't the advocation. The problem is the multiracial state in the first place, which is completely illegitimate.
My thing is, they go to these PWIs and do this shit. It's like, nigga, why don't you go to a HBCU if you want to be super blacked out of your mind?
Yeah, they're basically traveling to the PWIs for no other reason other than fucking bullshit, to start bullshit.
Yep.
Well, also to be in a safe environment. Like, this is not a hood rat.
True.
Like, the type of the way the girls that go to her probably school that she would probably normally go to in her community, the girls there are probably, they're probably she seems to be focused on pre-calc and speech and all this different stuff at school. The girls at her school are going to be focused on somebody says something, what this girl looking at. Ooh, she wore your dress you wore the other day. They worried about that type of stuff at school. Oh, he cute. I wonder if he still go with so and so. I heard so and so talking to your boyfriend. You know what I'm saying?
They worry about who got the biggest dick and all that shit.
Yeah. Do you see his print? Oh my God, girl. Like, it's like that type of stuff that they're talking about. And she seems like a girl that would probably be out of place in that. You know what I'm saying? And she needs to be around white people.
Yeah.
Team is the most diverse in our league.
One of the
There's
good
a lot
ones,
of
I
Latino
think they
people in
should
my
say.
school, and then Black, and then white, and then Asian.
Got a big old butt too.
The opportunities
shit, wait,
available
what?
to Ava
Oh,
are geographically
that's her right
unique,
there.
but just to receive it, most of her day is taken up by her commute.
It's kind of thick, man.
Schools in the U.S. remain deeply divided along racial, ethnic, and economic lines, even as studies show that the K through 12 public school population is becoming more diverse.
My elementary school, when I moved to Forest Hills, was very white, and it was like me and I think 3 or 4 other Black kids, and like I struggled with finding people that looked like me and like resonating with what was being taught to me, especially because there were no Black teachers.
Take me to a world where Ava never left and always went to school around home. What do you think her school experience would have been like that one?
Honestly, I think she's become a stronger advocate because she got to see the other side from very young.
Wow, that's deep. So by sending her away from her fucking ghetto into the white side of town, it's made her more woke. Because
can't avoid this shit, man.
White people have all this cool stuff, and we don't got shit back where we're from. Even though you have everything, you just degrade it and turn it into shit. But our shit don't look like theirs. So I need to be an activist and advocate for my people more. Yikes.
Well, keep in mind, you're kind of putting this Black girl in a like a tough place. Like, if she goes to the PWI, she either has to drum up the wokeness and blame gliders for everything, or she has to admit genetic inferiority. It's kind of one or the other.
Bro,
He's definitely
there's
not
so many.
admitting that.
Nobody admits the genetic inferiority shit. They could just, it's 1,000 different excuses you can make.
And in the school, they
son's
look at me
defense,
crazy.
You can't really expect a son or any group of people, for that matter, to admit genetic inferiority, even if it's true. You just not a reasonable expectation.
You don't think groups admit genetic inferiority?
I think gliders do sports.
Look at sports. They
Yeah, what? Yeah, people. It's just it's thing. It's I think it's just certain aspects of racial hierarchies that people aren't encouraged or actively discouraged to talk about. I think that's probably one of the main things why we can't even discuss shit like race and IQ differences.
All right, well, let me put it this way. Like, okay, yeah, you're actually probably right. Like, yeah, people behind closed doors will admit genetic inferiority, fine. But you just can't expect sons to say that out loud, because if you do, then that's basically saying all of their problems are their own fucking fault.
Well, it's taboo to talk about racial differences when you're talking about intelligence.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just other shit. People admit all types of differences between the races.
Oh yeah,
besides IQ.
yeah.
Besides
Obviously,
IQ.
no. I was talking about just strictly intelligence.
Oh
the one that
yeah.
actually matters.
Oh okay, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
With what was being taught to me, especially because there were no Black teachers.
Take me to a world where Ava never left and always went to school around home. What do you think her school experience would have been like in that world?
Honestly, I think she's become a stronger advocate because she got to see the other side from a very young age. You know, we talked about Black history. We talked about the importance of her identity and how she operates in spaces, but she got to see that everyone doesn't have that.
Two things here, man. These fucking glasses that these sisters always wear, they're always like so loud and so ostentatious. And then the fucking, where's the dad, man? Where's her fucking father at? And I'm not big on the father save the day shit, but where's her fucking dad, man?
They never had a dad.
She got to see that everyone doesn't have that.
70 years ago, the landmark Brown versus the Board of Education ruling was supposed to make schools more
Nice to
diverse.
see this dusted off again.
Declaring separating children in schools on the basis of race unconstitutional and ushering in integration efforts. But according to the latest U.S. Government Accountability Office investigation of K-12 education, schools are becoming highly segregated again. More than a third of students attend schools where 75% or more students are of a single race or ethnicity.
That's how it's supposed to be. It's normal.
And you have the fact that where Black people live, 80% of Black people live in cities. And most of those cities they live in are Democrat cities. And guess who lives in Democrat cities with Black people? White liberals. And so this segregation, if you just really just take two steps, it's white liberals segregating themselves from sun turds. Because there's not a lot of fucking conservatives in fucking Austin, in Portland, in Seattle, in DC, in San Francisco, in New York. There's not a bunch of fucking white conservatives, man. These are fucking liberals that are fucking saying, look, we don't want our kids going to school with these apes. Press 1.
In 1957, 3 years after the Brown versus the Board of Education ruling, the NAACP attempted to enroll 9 Black students at Little Rock Central High School. The ensuing chaos gripped the nation, and it became known to the media as the Little Rock Nine.
The first day is actually significant because it is a mirror image of all the other days. We were beaten and pushed and shoved, that stuff was thrown on us, so we kicked around. But as I said before, we had taken a vow of nonviolence. We chose not to fight.
The governor of Arkansas at the time prevented the students from entering the racially segregated school, using his state's National Guard for help. After weeks of failed attempts to safely get the students through a full day of classes, President Eisenhower intervened.
Our enemies are gloating over this incident and using it everywhere to misrepresent our whole nation.
Those students today disappointed how much work still needs to be done.
Over these 60 plus years, all the achievements that we have made.
So
Are
she
these
was one of
Melungeons?
the blacks. She was one of the blacks that was sent
Yeah,
to.
these are
Yeah,
some Melungeons.
she was one of the original. Some Melungeons, some people melanated. You know, you can't specify what the fuck it actually was in the 1400s before the explorers came here,
Yeah,
according to Mystic.
yeah. So these
Mystic
people
Nine.
are still rocking and rolling, man. The white man, the white country's so bad that these people are alive in it. What these people are 80, right? If that happened in the fucking 50s and they were already in high school, these people are 80, right? They look good, right?
No, they look super good to be old as hell like that.
And
Here,
happy
this
too.
country
Look at those
is
faces.
now being taken away from us. And if young people don't stand up and stop some of this process and strategize as to how they're going to go about changing these things, or at least put some rudders to what is being changed by others, we're in a mess here.
When you look at American history, what you will find is a consistent
So I think that's her right there.
willingness to support segregated society. That is the main focus, but you can't stop working for it in any case. You have to
Man,
be
they
fully
all
aware.
alive? Yo, that's crazy. Yo,
Especially for
what a
sons. Sons die
terrible
early.
country. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, what a terrible country, man. With all these every last one, three. No, yeah, all of them are alive. Wow, what a terrible country, man. A horrible. Gliders are terrible people. Man.
We
And if you had
failed.
a country that was the demographic makeup of this rogues gallery right here, it would be Haiti.
You know, you hear how they said, you know, so much progress has been made, but you know, we're still not done. You know, we haven't reached that perfect goal that none of us can fucking even tell you it is. Yeah, like what's the goal, man? The
But
fuck?
here's the thing: they expect perfection out of gliders. They think that perfection can be reached with gliders. They believe in them.
Well, I think the expected goal is like total white displacement and erasure, while also simultaneously like kick out all of the whites, but somehow still keep the white man society up and going it to the same standard. That's the goal.
Impossible.
Impossible, right?
But unless you have superhuman powers, how are you going to change it?
Unfortunately, we have come away from our commitment to the spirit of Brown. Schools have been resegregating rapidly since the 1980s. So let's think about designing for diversity.
Saba Burita co-founded Brown's Promise alongside Ari Amerikaner. It's an initiative working to combat racial segregation and honor the legacy of the Little Rock Nine students.
Why are our schools still segregated today? It's multi-faceted, big question. I think it is largely because
people like you would never send your kids to the fucking school where the black kids go to, even if it was across the street from your fucking house. You take a fucking second and third job and you'd forego your fucking vacation and you'd fucking take a hardship on your 401k to fucking send your kid to private school so they wouldn't have to go to school with little fucking orangutans.
People in Liechtenstein should take the 5 franc challenge, you know?
Yeah. So support the channel, guys. I mean, you don't learn this stuff anywhere else, man. It's the only channel for intellectuals, man, for learned people, man. It's like the only channel where they talk about stuff like this. I mean, you could go to other channels and talk about this stuff, but it'd just be 10 Mystic Phillies talk about shit that they can easily Google in 2 seconds.
Right.
But
Just Google
panel of Melungeons
everybody
screaming at each other.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mystic Philly in the chat, bro.
Shout out to Mr. Philly in the building, man. Mr. Philly in the building, man.
But I mean, I don't think people I mean, the gravity of what you just said, think about that. That's important. What you just said. Where else can you go get this, man? I mean, I want to know.
Nowhere. Nowhere. On YouTube, I don't know, man. I don't know. But I've been asking for a while, but
Me too.
I
but
mean,
yeah,
there's one channel I know at least. It's called iHypocrite. He's a good one.
What is it?
He's a glider, of course.
But is he in America? Is he in
Yeah, he's a Canadian that moved to the US.
Hypocrite. How do you
Yeah.
spell it?
iHypocrite.
How the fuck you spell hypocrite?
Like the letter I or
HYPO crit?
Yes, HYPOCRITE.
So does he have panels as well? Are they like discussing it, or is he just?
He has a call-in show every day. It's called the Daily Cope, and he had, maybe you saw one of his. I mean, his most popular show is called "You Can't Stop Progress." It's amazing. You should watch it. It's really good.
What is that? Is it similar to Ignation?
No, the You Can Stop Progress is just a bunch of clips of the new global homo world and the madness, but watch it on Rumble because it's uncensored there. It's really good. It's been going on for years and it's really well made.
The closest thing I could think of to this is honestly Twitter, but here we like dissect it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Twitter's like raw and unfiltered, but I can't think of anything else, man. I want to know though. Tell me.
Yeah, let's move along though. Let's see what else is going on. Let's move on.
How are you going to change it?
Unfortunately, we have come away from our commitment to the spirit of Brown. Schools have been resegregating rapidly since the 1980s. So let's think about designing for diversity.
Saba Burita co-founded Brown's Promise alongside Ari Amerikaner. It's an initiative working to combat racial segregation and honor the legacy of the Little Rock 9 students.
Why are our schools still segregated today? It's multi-faceted, big question. I think it is largely because we don't talk about it. We can't and we won't fix what we don't talk about and recognize.
Following the landmark Brown versus the Board decision, students started getting bused into schools from different neighborhoods to promote integration. But much of that stopped. Starting in 1980, costly busing orders began to expire. And with a history of housing discrimination leading many neighborhoods to be segregated by race, for millions of students, going to the public school closest to your home means it won't be racially diverse. Despite the billions of dollars invested to desegregate public schools over the last few decades, today, school segregation.
You gliders have spent billions of dollars to desegregate schools.
And it's still not enough.
You can't, bro. It's DNA.
The money pit, right?
Yo, you just took $1 billion and threw it in the Atlantic Ocean.
Discrimination leading many neighborhoods to be segregated by race, for millions of students, going to the public school closest to your home means it won't be racially diverse. Despite the billions of dollars invested to desegregate public schools over the last few decades, today, school segregation is back at the same level it was in the 1960s.
So basically, like we said, you took billions of dollars, because he said billions with an S, and threw it into the fucking South Pacific Ocean.
Also, it's worth pointing out, like, during these quote unquote times of desegregation, yeah, okay, maybe it's desegregated in the idea that, like, there are literally black and white kids sharing a classroom, fine. But once the recess bell rings, they all go into their little groups. Like, there was never a process of desegregation. This never happened.
Yeah, the white kids are going home after school. The black kids are hanging around, like, getting into mischief and shit. This is sad, man. This is really, really, really fucking sad, man.
School segregation is persistent and it plagues us across the country and across the years, unfortunately. I wish I could say there was a place that had solved it.
According to data collected by the Department of Education, between 2022 and 2023, amongst 100,000 public schools across the country, about 83% of Black public school students and 82% of Latino students attended a majority non-white school. At the same time, 75% of white public school students were enrolled in a majority white school.
We talk a lot about the importance of school integration to the health of our democracy. Students who continually are growing up in segregated environments are not interacting with people from different backgrounds. So when they get into higher ed or they get into their careers, and they've never worked with someone who was from a different race or a different socioeconomic background, that causes friction.
That's such a great point.
At a recent conference in Baltimore, Saba and Ari met with education leaders to discuss solutions. Educators are making a major
Nothing but
Mostly
women. in
chicks.
here. Look at this shit.
Yeah, that's the problem. Fat chicks too.
Fat women, fucking white, bunch of fat white
Women who
Ari
probably
met
don't
with
have kids.
education leaders to discuss solutions.
Look at this shit. Like, yo, it's literally all women. Look.
Ari met with education leaders.
All big backs.
Risk
A
of
lot of
drugs.
them don't have kids, and that's a big problem, I think, in the teaching world.
But they got a son man though. You know that they got a
Yeah,
son
it's
man.
a son. Yeah, these two big back Gladys queens right here. It's a
Got 10
sun
son
man.
men.
It's a
Whiteback
sun.
dirt dolphin.
Yeah, it's a sun man digging them guts out.
That's a green card right there.
We need a lot of baby oil for this one.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get an industrial sized bottle of baby
Jimmy
oil for
Diddy's
that one.
contact stat.
The fat family size.
Jeez.
You're gonna have to get the Diddy bulk
The Diddy
promo code.
The economy
Diddy.
size bottle signed by P. Diddy.
Yikes.
Jeez.
Leaders to discuss solutions. Educators are making a major push toward public magnet schools,
Okay,
in particular, which offer specialized courses and programs designed to attract a more diverse student body.
They offer theme programming that you can't get in other schools, and students and families find that valuable. And what they in particular find important is the opportunity to go to a school that's integrated, where students can learn alongside students from different racial, ethnic, socioeconomic backgrounds, and they engage in a pluralistic society in a way that they wouldn't otherwise be prepared to do if they were in a traditional public school.
Can't we just let them
Ava,
enjoy
even at a
childhood?
young age, is also fighting for diversity and, most importantly, integration in public schools. She's a youth advocacy director at Integrate NYC, a youth-led organization aimed at creating equity in New York City schools.
Power to the youth. Yeah.
Integrate NYC is currently in a legal battle with New York State. According to the Civil Rights Project, New York is one of the most diverse states in the nation, yet at the same time, one of the most segregated. In the lawsuit against the state, Integrate NYC claims the sorting and admission process in New York City schools forces students of color to be channeled into the most overcrowded and under-resourced schools across the city. The New York City Department of Education sent us a statement saying, in part, we agree with the plaintiffs that achieving those educational goals is made harder by the complex system of biases, inequities deeply rooted in this country's history, culture, and institutions, a system that we also want to change. But this lawsuit is not the answer. We are prepared to defend against these claims. And
So they're suing the fucking state of New York because white liberals don't want to send their kids to school with fucking mini orangutans.
That's a lot of words to say. I'm not racist.
Well, I mean, it's a racial jungle. Come on now.
I'm telling you, man.
Court. Ava is even taking her fight from the streets of New York City to the halls of Washington, D.C.
Yo, so she's already doing activism. So this
What a
is
shame.
her purpose in life.
She had the good fortune to go to a mostly white school, and you can tell because of the way she talks and carries herself that it had an effect on her. But this is her reaction to it, is to try to undo whatever opportunity she got from that.
Stir up trouble. And kind of like, everybody tell everybody she meets that, white people are, doing some crooked business.
Yeah, but the weird thing is when they say they want diversity, what they really mean is they want to be close to white people because they know deep inside that if they're being taught by white people, their education is going to be better, right?
They're going to be safer in the white school,
Yeah,
too.
it's going to be safer. The classroom, the classroom is going to be quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
Teachers,
Quiet.
yeah.
the other kids are gonna be doing work, so you can actually like
Exactly.
find somebody like in her black school. There's nobody that she can say, "Hey, girl, let's go have a study hall. Let's go.
But what?
Let's you know."
Right, but what's the price for this? You know, for this so-called diversity is that
Safety.
the white students, they're gonna, you know, their education is gonna go down because they will have to adapt the curriculum. You know, and
I mean,
they
there's a
have
certain
to.
amount that it can sustain until it tips over to.
Yeah,
like,
but the
you know,
percentage is really low. If it's 20 students in a class, you can't have more. You can't have more than 5 POCs in a classroom.
Well, Gladys, that'll be the least of their
definitely agree with
problems, bro. That'll be the least.
You get
of their
more than
problems,
5,
bro.
they start eating the class pets.
I'd say
You
it
just
takes
gotta be
3.
careful.
when I went to middle school, there was 30 of us in a class. If there's like 2 or 3 sons, it's done. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, ideally it would be just 1 in the class. So
What is the
So you-
What
fucking
do
like?
the sons do though? Like what do sons do to
They can't
Well,
stop
look-
talking. They can't stop like essentially raping the white girls. Like they're just like they're basically beasts. Like they just do what a beast does essentially.
God damn, where'd you go to school? Compton, Canada?
Like it is kind of crazy, just like the intensity and like desire that these son boys, really, they're like 14, right, have for white girls, and they just keep chasing them. They never stop being a class clown. Like they're violent. It's just a mess, man.
I remember
problem
some
is
kid fighting
also-
the teacher in my 7th grade reading class.
The problem also, we live in a climate where gliders are told they're being racist just for existing. And if you have only 1 son in the classroom, all the other glider kids, they're gonna hold back, you know, and not live their culture, not be themselves. And they're
Yes.
always on their toes, right? So even that, it just creates this aura of you know, it's just
Interesting point.
fear. You have to be fearful around them because anything you do could be interpreted as racist.
Right.
It could be the smallest thing ever, and they're
Right.
just gonna
I like your hair,
Yeah.
girl. Racist.
right.
Yeah, the workplace is,
Oh, yeah.
where that
It's crazy.
And you know they're gonna have to defend themselves from all these random gliders trying to touch their hair. Damn.
It's really the other way around. White people are not interested in touching kinky black hair. I gotta be honest with you. It's the other way around. if anything.
Yeah, the girls do.
Go the other way
Like the
around.
girls, they love touching hair, but yeah.
Yeah, African black girls love. I mean, look at who's doing everything to make their hair look like the other.
Yeah.
Like
They
Like-
call it their crown, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, let's stop it.
Ava is even taking her fight from the streets of New York City to the halls of Washington, D.C., speaking on a student-led panel during Attorney General Merrick Garland's remarks on the 70th anniversary of Brown versus
All right, wait,
Board of
is that a
Ed.
white guy or what?
Of separate but equal has no place.
Moderated by Brown's promise.
Majority black and brown
Look at her. Look, she's up on stage at the fucking with the fucking Attorney General and shit. And she's and she would probably you would probably talk to her and you would probably think like she's living in a hell, a personal hellscape. If she just described her life, if you didn't know her, like if you had never seen this and you just like, you know what I'm saying, like struck up a conversation with her, you probably think she was living in a straight up like goddamn dystopian hellscape. But this is her life, man. It's very good, man. Very good life she's living, man.
Shout out to
schools
Merrick,
will like
Merrick Garland.
lack resources. They won't have AP classes. They won't have sports teams.
Yeah, but here's the thing,
Educators
sis.
and
Them niggas ain't taking no AP courses, man. Stop it.
Especially not in anything STEM related.
And they do have them. There's just no fucking demand for them.
Stop it. Stop this thing that blacks are clamoring at Martin Luther King Jr. High School, Booker T. Washington High School. Blacks are like, you know what, man? This place is great, but it you know what would make it better, man? AP fucking biology, man.
Wicked, what is this? Run this guy's genealogy for me, Wicked. What is this?
This one here, I'm gonna say Juice Crew.
Oh, how did you
You saw the
know?
link.
Is there any particular tells from his face you can tell?
The schnoz? Is it the schnoz?
I'd say the fucking everything, to be honest.
The facial features
gonna
put
say,
together.
I was gonna say his skin tone.
That too.
Yeah.
But like, I'll admit, like the area, the chick before, she's a more glider type, no doubt. This guy is a more, half and half, kind of like you and the Indian type of thing, right? Like more half and half mixture.
I don't see it. I mean, like you said, maybe you see something I don't, but he looks like a glider.
Yeah, definitely.
He looks like a glider.
His family changed the name from Garfinkel to Garland.
That's what I'm saying. They changed their name.
Bro, that schnoz and the distance between the eyes are like that. No, that's not a glider, or at least not a full glider.
Moderated by Brown's promise.
Majority Black and brown schools will lack resources. They won't have AP classes. They won't have sports teams.
Educators and integration advocates have tried for years.
You just say Black and brown schools won't have sports teams. But they will have rowing. They will have a rowing team. Yeah, of course not, because nobody wants to fucking do rowing. They probably won't have an archery team either. They won't have a lacrosse team. They won't have a fucking badminton team. But they'll definitely have the sports that fucking Sun-Turds love to play. What's she talking about?
The crazy thing is she said they lack resources. Imagine, like, after these decades of pumping trillions and dollars into their communities, they still tell you they're lacking resources. It's appalling.
Yeah, it's gaslighting. It's beyond gaslighting.
It is.
They won't have
crazy.
AP classes. They won't have sports teams.
Educators and integration advocates have tried for years to get the federal government to have a bigger role in supporting school desegregation. A spokesperson for the U.S. Department of Education sent us a statement saying, in part, the department has supported voluntary school integration through local partnerships with parents, educators, and communities, addressed disparities in funding and resources for schools, and issued guidance and funding to support a more diverse educator workforce.
So many people here today. You changed the world.
The Biden administration announced last year they'd created a new $10 million grant to fund school integration efforts, just a small portion of the $100 million the administration has tried to get Congress to put towards this effort. Unless something is done to improve school integration, Ava, like thousands of other students across the country, will have to keep fighting for their education and the opportunities that come with it. How do you fix this here in New York City? Can you, and what does that actually look like?
Young people are the only people in New York City, like high schools, public schools. So we need to listen to our demands because they're very important. And we shape the future.
Yeah, kids usually have it all figured out.
Examining another aspect of education. Our thanks to Ika Jachi for that.
Yeah, she look like Kamala,
to
bro.
deal with an
It's just.
What's that?
She like Kamala Harris and her prime before mine too.
Kamala Harris.
Man. It's just so the gaslight, man. The fact that you gliders like literally like eat that shit.
You know, it's crazy to think, that there's like no light at the end of the tunnel yet. Like we're not close to the. I mean, am I wrong? We're nowhere near the.
What could change? There's nothing that can change. Like
we're like not
Money-
even halfway through. I don't think.
Money isn't going to fix this problem. You know what was it recently in Baltimore? They like not one kid in all the school district had met him. You know, and they're spending whatever the number is, $40,000 per student per year to use that.
And none of them were proficient in like math or reading.
None of them were great.
None of them. To have a whole school, like they have basically, I think it was 13 high schools where you didn't have one. I mean, not one. You listen, man. You should be able to go A, B, C, D down to multiple choice on one of them standardized tests and accidentally
Yeah.
get proficient.
They didn't
That-
even get a. None of them got lucky. Like, God damn.
You know, they didn't do well on the tests because they were up all night studying for their AP exams.
Yeah, with their dads.
Yeah, exactly. It's like yo, that should be something that just stops people in their tracks. It says, yo, what?
I mean, they'll probably just say, you know, there's no dads in the home. Black women are, you know, black women the reason these niggas retarded. Something like that.
And it really is gliders paying for all this. They make up the tax base that supports all this crap.
Yeah, that's one of the lesser talked about things when these niggas are always complaining about shit. It's like, nigga, y'all don't put in, y'all not even really putting in on this shit. Niggas are a net negative on the tax base to the tunes of billions of dollars every year.
And they still don't tip. It's crazy.
Yeah, all this free shit get to just drain glider pockets decade after decade and still complain that nothing's being. They say that these niggas not even trying to help black people out. They're gaslighting, bro. Bro, I keep telling y'all,
A
stop.
nefarious parasite.
Just stop. Niggas can lie, man. We gotta stop acting like niggas can't lie about shit. These niggas are lying to your face.
Yeah, saying the part about AP wanting AP courses. Why would you want if you can't even be proficient at just rudimentary mathematics? Why the fuck would you want AP course? If you think about if
just
even
marketing.
if they said, yeah, but no, if you said, okay, we had 2 students at each of these high schools that was proficient, then you could at least say, hey man, those 2 kids could do AP. When you have none, and you talk about, well, the white people have AP courses and we don't. Like, come on, man.
But that to a glider sounds like, oh, what a grave injustice. Here's more money.
Yeah, definitely.
They don't understand that the AP course would be, you know, a cavern, an empty room in that school.
Yeah, it'll be a way to some Sunman superintendent to get caught up fucking skimming money off the top and shit. So some sun superintendent go to prison. The AP course money he done pocketed and shit.
Yeah, for all the books they bought.
Yeah, man. Wow. Unfucking believable, man.
I mean, I think a lot of these things black people complain about. I think we could alleviate a lot of this if we just say, damn, if we just ponder for one moment, yo, what if niggas are retarded?
Maybe
just
it's not
ponder.
everybody else. Maybe
Yeah,
it's us.
maybe we just retarded. Like, that explains way more than this big ass conspiracy.
It's like when you're disconnected from the internet. You think, is it maybe that my cord is disconnected, or that everybody else in the world also is not able to connect to the internet? What do you think is more likely?
It's usually
Yeah, and I want to come to school. I mean, you know, I don't want to stay home.
Why not?
Because I want to finish and get it over with. I don't want to let them mess up our senior year. I know it.
So who messed it up?
Everybody. These people that are doing all this.
The boycott?
Yeah.
Boycotters?
Got one more year, so why not go? Get it over with. Ain't no use letting mess up the senior year.
I think that's what
This is Charlotte school when they desegregated schools in Charlotte in the early 70s. Salute to Sammy the Bull, man. He said these sons suffer survivor guilt, sending $5 cash out. Salute to you, man. Bug Off says But that Dutch looking chick that everyone thinks is Juice Crew, look up Anna Kendrick and then look up her ancestry. Okay, Anna Kendrick, man.
Okay.
Do your own
salute
research.
Boy Conchita, smack that like it's Shakira's mic. Yeah, man. Hit the like button, support the channel via PayPal, Cash App, Super Chat.
Yeah. Why not
Run
just
down to the
tell us?
Library of Congress and read about it.
Yeah, like what's up with this whole, you're gonna have to find out yourself. Just tell us, bro. Damn.
What happened? If they boycott, that's what's going to happen.
White school boycotts in the South this fall have generally been long on talk and short on performance. There's more performance here, but school officials still pronounce themselves well pleased by the orderly turnout of black and white students. Foster Davis, CBS News, Charlotte, North Carolina.
In the middle of a dusty day.
That is what the court is being asked to decide. The issue is cross-busing to achieve racial balance, but the legal question is reasonableness. That is what the court is being asked to decide. Whether these buses shall be the means to establish a 70-30 white-to-black ratio in every school in Charlotte and Mecklenburg County.
Think about that, man.
I mean, if your state or country or whatever cannot guarantee you the ability or the right to self-association, that's an illegitimate state. That's how I see it.
Yeah, they had to do all this shit.
Yeah, this state's got to go, man. It's just not. It's not it.
Imagine being forced to have to go to lunch and be in a classroom with these goddamn apes.
Dude, and the ratio is 7-3. What the fuck? They're really pounding on you there with that 7-3 ratio.
Yeah, I know. I can't imagine being a father. I mean, at least me, being a father and then having this thrown on us. I can't even imagine how overwhelming that would be. I'd be so fucking angry,
That one blonde girl will be prey. Like, I've seen it with my own eyes. Like, it's just if you're a good father, you're obligated to protect your daughters from being sexually assaulted and raped by some men.
Well, look at Howard Stern said. Howard Stern talked about it, how when he was going to his son's school, they were beating his ass every day.
Yeah,
man.
You said Howard
And there goes Evel Knievel across 38 buses.
When it comes to protecting constitutional rights of children, I don't think that the expense involved or even the inconvenience involved to a school board is necessarily the test of reasonableness. The test of reasonableness is that which will, in fact, accomplish what the Constitution requires, and we think that what that requires is complete integration of the schools.
I ain't gonna lie.
Turned out 3 liberal members of the.
These niggas sound way more,
Also, the Constitution wasn't written for them. The presence of sun is just an unlucky side effect of some industry that used to be around in the past. So,
yeah,
the Constitution was written for gliders and not for suns.
Yeah, it was written for free white men of what was the upstanding characters and shit.
Yeah, if they knew back in the day how America would look today,
Because of their Negro slaves.
They probably would have genocided niggas. If they could see in the future, they probably would have just got niggas the fuck out the paint, one way or the other.
Well, they tried. They
so
tried.
too.
They did try to send them back after slavery.
They would have handled it like those back then. The gliders
Yeah, I got faith in those gliders back then. They probably would have got that shit handled.
It was the greed of certain gliders, though, that brought some people here in the first place
true.
and kept them. And
That's
forced the issue too. Like this is the other side of the coin that doesn't get
But that makes sense, huh? I mean, it was what it was back in the day. We can't judge them by today's standard.
Right. Well, this
It's
is
what
why
it
I
is.
blame the ancestors. Like the biggest crime that was ever committed was bringing the African to the New World.
Yes.
Yeah, well, who brought them? It wasn't gliders who brought them over here.
Well, it was gliders who demanded them over
Right,
here,
exactly.
largely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
There
but who
was-
do you blame?
You
Do
can't
you
blame the
blame?
people doing the supplying if there's the demand, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, kind of. You can blame the drug dealer for supplying
Both.
drugs.
Yeah,
Right?
both. I think both share blame, of course, right?
Yeah, but one claims more blame than the other.
It's true. I think it's like a chicken and an egg argument too. You know.
I like to think of the early days of slavery in this country as us supporting black-owned businesses.
Well, what do you think? The buyer or the settler? I think the buyer, right?
I think the fact that to say that whites didn't want slaves is crazy.
Like, come
The
on.
problem was is
Yeah,
that
come on,
white
dog.
people, didn't want to and largely couldn't
Sugar
work
was
their like
big
sugar
in the-
plantations and shit.
Yes, sugar was when once they discovered sugar, that shit was bigger than crack or fucking fentanyl or any drug, meth,
Yep,
whatever.
true.
Yeah, and you had
That
to use
shit
absolute
loaded.
brutality to harvest it for a long time. So they could have used the Irish. They could have worked the Irish to death, and I think that probably would have been better for the future of the continent.
Keep using the Irish.
Yeah, it would have
They
been
tried.
infinitely better.
Yeah, but they didn't have sunscreen back in the day, so that was the problem.
Well, they
had
would have
to
died
import.
in droves, but
Yeah.
progress.
I
No, they had Irish.
The school board and placed its own
Wait, so what did you say? Yeah, which one deserves more blame, the buyer or the seller?
I think whites are very complicit in the slave trade, man. I mean, the blame. I mean, the Jews, of course, financiers and underwriting, but the crews on those ships were white and
The way a lot of people tell it, it's like the Jews were running all the ships to supply, the black slave owners in America with slaves. It's like,
Big
wait a minute,
conspiracy.
hold on.
Right, it was a big conspiracy. It was just a
It's on the
natural
gliders,
organic
man.
event.
No,
Look
they're
at it this
charging
way. Look at
interest
this
on
way.
the loan to secure the ship.
It's
I
not the
hold you-
gliders. There was no glider demand for African slaves in the United States and South America.
I hold y'all to a high standard, man. Y'all gotta
Fellas,
take some of
fellas,
this up.
Look at it this way. Do you think you could ever convince the Chinese at the same time period to take in slaves to do any type of work,
Yeah,
period?
the Chinese did have slaves at the same time
Yeah,
period to do their agricultural
did.
work. It was called serfdom.
Okay,
Well,
but were they
the
bringing
Chinese
in
had slaves.
Africans en
They
masse?
didn't need to. They had hundreds of millions of their own peasants to do it.
Yeah,
Right, and
Koreans, they stay
They
enslaved.
had
to Koreans.
absolutely no need to import people for slavery. They had plenty of slaves.
Okay,
There was,
point being
there
is
was a huge need to import
that's-
labor that could do the work in the Americas.
okay. Let me talk.
So that-
Let me talk, man. Point being is they're so naturally xenophobic that even if they did not have that surplus labor, no matter what, they would never put any sort
okay,
of thing
but that's a
over their
theoretical
own
argument
home.
anyway. I mean, it just there was no demand for it over there, like as an import item, and there was in the United States.
Okay,
Who's
but my
demanding
point
it?
being is that among the gliders, we had to balance a homogenous society versus the demand, and we fucking failed. And what I'm saying in this, if you could just think for a moment about this kind of thought experiment I'm putting forward, let's say the Chinese did have a demand, theoretically, they would never have taken the deal. They would have went, no, fuck it, it's not worth it. That's the point I'm trying to make to you.
Yeah, I agree with
I
that
think
principle.
gliders back in the day, they thought they're just going to repatriate sons after they're done with them, but it never happened.
The truth is, they didn't give it enough forethought. And
Yeah,
they
I
didn't
was-
care because it wasn't going to be a
That's
problem in
what
their
it seems
lifetime,
like.
and they were focused on getting rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Oh, yeah.
to be clear, like when gliders came over, right? They didn't think of it like a new country for gliders. That kind of came later. Like they were still part of like the crown, the colonies, right? Like so, all those people, like most slaves, went to Brazil and they just worked the fuck out of them and just enriched the country of Portugal through that means. They didn't really think about it as like, oh, we're going to take over this new land and be the new natives. That kind of happened afterwards, and then it was too late because we brought too many mystics here.
They didn't think of it as a new country for gliders because that thought didn't even exist that you would have a mixed country. It was like an alien thought to have, It was.
They didn't count on the Melungeons being here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they just came here to get that bag. That was the main thing.
Which will, in fact, accomplish what the Constitution requires. And we think that what that requires is complete integration of the schools.
It, turned out 3 liberal members of the school board and placed its own candidates in their place. It gathered some 60,000 names on petitions opposing what it calls arbitrary racial balance, and it sent them and one of their leaders to a White House meeting with aides to President Nixon.
We appreciate all the help we can get. If you're out of town, it's probably happening in your town too, so help us a lot.
Well, I'll be leaving. Of course, I don't know anything about the bus times yet, but I will be leaving my house probably somewhere around 7 or maybe earlier in the morning. And I'll have to cross 2 major arteries to get to West Charlotte. And I can imagine that it's going to be pretty much of a mess.
I think it's just got to be done. We've got a bus. Once people, I've traveled, and once you get to know people, they're not different. It's just the same all over.
I've talked to quite a few students, and they're getting fed up with all this hassle, court hassle, and all this sort of stuff, and they just as soon just go on and go to school and get it over with. They don't like the idea of being bused and all, but I don't think there's going to be any violence, of any kind.
It's the parents.
The parents, that's it. They're the ones who will cause the violence if there is any really big violence.
The parents are uptight and the students are.
Yes, sir.
They would blow.
That's right. I think it's up to the students, and it's just up to the students whether they will accept it or not. And I think we will. But as he said, it's the parents.
It has excellent coffee quality.
Oh, it's extremely reliable and comes with IBM service.
It's easy to use.
And it's very, very, very small. The IBM Executive Copier.
When court-ordered school busing for desegregation began in Los
those kids were from Charlotte?
Oh, yeah. This is a show.
Yeah. I wonder what they think nowadays. If they still have the same.
They're boomers. They're probably woke as fuck.
Los Angeles in September 1978, some officials were jubilant. Said one advocate, the schools did open uneventfully, peacefully, decently, and well. But whether busing reached a dead end or only a detour, the program came to a halt last night. And Linda Douglas now reports on what happened today.
Most of the 500,000 children in the Los Angeles school district have been untouched by the 3-year-old mandatory busing plan. Fewer than 1/4 of the city's students are white, simply not enough to integrate the primarily Hispanic and black schools. Nevertheless, 23,000 children have been riding buses anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour to achieve integration. And the anti-busing majority on the LA school board today claimed permanent defeat for busing and a victory for education.
Busing has not only been a tremendous financial and educational burden on this district, it's helped destroy support for public education, has helped divert scarce staff and teacher resources from our true mission of education.
Segregated education cannot be praised in any stretch of the imagination, and those members of the school board who are praising the separation of races at this day and age are acting very irresponsibly.
In the meantime, most of the children in the busing program chose to stay there rather than disrupt the school year. But more than 7,000 youngsters did return to their neighborhood schools today.
I don't like my child on a bus for 2 hours a day, wasting her time and possibly interrupting her ability to get her studies done.
For some children, the prospect of a new school in mid-year was too much to bear. Many others seemed relieved.
Because I don't really like riding on the bus that much.
Why not?
Because I have to wake up so early in the morning.
One federal judge said over the weekend the district can legally abandon busing as a remedy for segregation, but he added the basic right of Los Angeles minority children to an equal education remains unsolved. Linda Douglas, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Late this afternoon, the NAACP asked Justice Rehnquist for permission to withdraw its appeal for busing reinstatement. Well, foes of busing as a last resort for desegregation may take comfort in today's news from Los Angeles, But as Ed Rabel reports, a similar program seems to be rolling along in another community 10 years after many observers said it wouldn't work.
It has transcended almost all of the other emotional issues which tore the nation in the 60s and 70s. It is something almost everybody agrees on. They hate it. Even the president is against it.
I am heart and soul in favor of the things that have been done under the name of civil rights, desegregation, and so forth. I happen to believe, however, that busing has been a failure and is not accomplishing the purpose, the worthwhile purpose that gave it birth.
There are children here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and adults too, who do not agree with President Reagan. It's time to come together to celebrate, they say. It's time to come together. That's what blacks had in mind 10 years ago when they successfully pressed the courts to quicken the pace of desegregation here through busing, making Charlotte the place where it all began. It was a bad beginning. Students clashed, police were sent in, parents were bitter, whites fled to private schools, test scores dropped drastically, and
Whites fled to private schools and test scores dropped drastically. Yo, that's crazy.
The quiet part out loud.
Wow. I mean, like, wow. Whites fled to schools and test scores dropped drastically.
I mean, it's pretty much just white people fled to X and the beneficial aspects of society went down.
Does anyone know what they truly think is going to happen? Like, do they think if we have a bunch of white people and some sons that like through osmosis or like we give off some energy or like some like fucking ether, we're going to like somehow make the sons smarter just by being in the same location? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Those people think that racism and poverty and all those things are the reason sons present like fucking morons. So that's what it is.
Students clashed, police were sent in, parents were bitter, whites fled to private schools, test scores dropped drastically, and all anybody seemed to be talking about was busing. But what Charlotte finally talked itself into was making it work.
I would say the folks in Charlotte, both black and white, knuckled under to an idea that if we absolutely had to do this, we were going to make it work as best we could for the children.
I think it was more in terms of leaders coming forth and suggesting to the community that this was perhaps the right thing to do. It was more important to the community to implement the change effectively than to raise obstacles and cause problems for students and teachers and the whole system.
All is not harmonious here 10 years after court-ordered busing began. Black enrollment is increasing, and the drift back to the public school system by whites is slowing down. But the police are gone from the school grounds. Race relations are better, and most of the children now in the public school system have known no other way.
I'll call out the element, you give me the symbol.
Test scores for both blacks and whites have risen higher than the national average. Special programs have been put in to improve learning.
You write the element it stands for.
Out in the community, busing has translated into more integrated neighborhoods. It is no longer unusual, no longer dominating conversation here.
Charlotte's made a very good adjustment to the busing decision. It has not been all good.
It's usually what happens when you get a bunch of white people
pluses and
busing
some
all over.
minuses, but on the whole, I think Charlotte has made a very good adjustment to it.
William Poe was opposed to busing 10 years ago when he was chairman of the Charlotte School Board.
From a standpoint of social involvement, social improvement, integration, generally race relations working out pretty well, I think it's on the plus side.
There is not yet universal acceptance of busing here. Most are resigned to what has happened.
Let's have a good time
Some even nourish the hope that it will be reversed, and they are encouraged by their United States Senator, who is a leading anti-busing advocate.
Forced busing is the greatest folly ever perpetrated upon the children of this country. It has done no good. It has done irreparable harm.
I say in any community, if you can come up with a plan that accomplishes desegregation, great. That's fine. Even if you don't have to use a single bus, that's great. But if you can't do it, let's face it, it's time for us to move in. We're at the last end of the 20th century. It's time that the black be totally integrated into the society that we have.
Like most American communities, Charlotte is not yet totally integrated. But after 10 years, many agree this is not a bad beginning. Ed Rabel, CBS News, Charlotte,
Can't
North
integrate
Carolina.
oil and water either.
Yeah, they forced that shit on me.
Yeah. Damn, I feel bad
You
for the
can mix up
Gliders,
the oil
man.
and the water, but after 30 years, you'll have the oil and the water separate again.
You had no choice. You had to sit next to that Harambean class. Damn.
Or worse, you end up with oily water.
The Supreme Court, by the way, refused today to curtail the authority of the Justice Department to go to court to force public schools to use busing where segregation exists. A suit against the government on that point had been filed.
So yeah, so we're back after all that shit. We're back where we started in 2024. Wow, we're back where we started.
I mean, it was
I used to miss about
20%.
25 days.
Here's this it.
I used to miss about 25 days of the school year down Lombard. And now that I've came to Dunbar, I haven't missed any days so far. And I think it's because no one pushes you around to make you learn at their speed, learn at your own speed, at your own rate. And,
Oh yeah, this nigga
you have
retarded.
open space. You can work when you feel like it and not if you don't. No one makes you do anything here.
Oh yeah, that's heaven for a son, man. You ain't got to learn shit.
I used to miss
this
about
nigga in heaven.
25 days of the school year down Lombard. And now that I've came to Dunbar, I haven't missed any days so far. And I think it's because no one pushes you around to make you learn at their speed, learn at your own speed, at your own rate. And you have open space. You can work when you feel like it and not if you don't. No one makes you do anything here.
I had no reason to cut classes because I like my teachers and I like the work that I'm doing there in Dunbar.
Oh good.
Well, I think our school is different because we're teaching the members in the school are teaching the students a sense of responsibility, such that when we face the outside world, we'll be able to cope with it. You know, because at other schools, you get in there, you learn things, but you don't learn what life is really all about. And
Yeah, man, 1975. All things considered, man, Sons just presented differently. She's got her natural nappy hair.
Yep.
She looks good with it, better than these hoes nowadays. And
I like the weed better, but
she speaks. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we indoctrinated with weave, but what I'm saying is,
that's
like,
probably yeah.
she speaks like a human being, even though she may be just a hood rat. She's probably a hood rat, but that's just how hood rats were in those days.
Yo, these sons are
in Dunbar, we learn.
Yo, Sons were so fucking. It's just they just seem way more polished back around these times.
Well, yeah, because the dads were the home, right?
Nah, it ain't got nothing to do with
70s.
70s, they was supposed to be already gone. Yeah, because that was welfare.
Well, back then, like the
I don't
white
think you need
society was like on their ass still, kind of like they had a reason to perform. Now
I
they
don't I don't think you need a dad to not sound retarded though.
Yeah, true indeed. Yeah, I think it's something else, man. But yeah, you had the same issues like we talked about last night. Like there's murder, and just all the murder in this city is being done by blacks. The schools, the test scores are abysmal, but these people still just sound different. It's just weird.
and at the same time we find what life is really all about. So when we get out here to face it, we'll be able to stick with it.
Dunbar is my third high school. I've been to Milford Mill High School out in Pikesville and
I'm 26.
Douglas High School.
This son turd is bouncing around from high school to high school.
Yeah, he's 30.
He sounds like fucking a fucking goddamn orator, a thespian or some shit, man.
And out of the three, Dunbar tops them because they have a whole lot to offer. And I think every student should take advantage, every student that's attending the school should take advantage of all the facilities and get with the teachers because they're here to help everyone, to succeed in what they want to become or whatever. And the school is just fantastic,
He sounds second generation.
Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School is an unusual facility in a city undergoing a crisis in education. It is both new and attractive, but perhaps more important, it is the only school in Baltimore City which has significantly reduced its absentee rate during the past 4 years. The how and why of this reduced absentee rate may be the real story of Dunbar, where each day more.
They're hanging their hat on reducing the absentee rate. They ain't talking shit about test scores. They ain't talking about grades. They ain't talking about this is the school this is our best school because they've reduced the absentee rate.
Yeah. That shows you that these niggas was still retarded back then. They just spoke more properly. They still were retarded, but it was harder to detect it.
More and more students are counted among the present.
Dropped out of school early so I could get me some paper. That's a good book. I don't mind you getting knowledge about the game. You did? So that you won't have to have none of the young girls.
That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. That's bragging about it.
Your skin like it's Louboutin. Time took.
The fact that this is like something to brag about is just embarrassing, man.
That perhaps 30,000 students a day in the city are out of school without a legitimate reason, that the truancy rate is rising, and that reports and studies notwithstanding, not much is being done to solve the problem. It was discovered, however, that in one school, the absentee rate has been reduced from 30% to 18%, a distinct reversal of the trend toward greater absenteeism since 1970.
Yeah, they did a whole fucking special because one fucking school in this Sun City.
And thus it seemed logical to take a longer look at this one school.
Yeah, that is insane, man. The bar is in fucking the core of the bar is at the Earth's core, man. Oh.
Done to solve the problem. It was discovered, however, that in one school, the absentee rate has been reduced from 30% to 18%, a distinct reversal of the trend toward greater absenteeism since 1970. And thus it seemed logical to take a longer look at this one school, Paul Lawrence Dunbar High, to find out first how it is different from other city schools, and second, if the lessons of Dunbar can be applied to the rest of the city. Of course, Dunbar is a new school, and there are other new schools in the city. The difference is that instead of being planned by educators, Dunbar was planned by ordinary East Baltimore citizens interested in bettering educational opportunities for their children. Representative Hattie Harrison of the Maryland General Assembly was a member of the Dunbar charrette, or brainstorming sessions, which preceded the actual construction of the school a decade ago.
They had to more or less seek out every avenue possible. And for a few years in the early part of the 60s, it looked as if it was an impossible thing. At one time, there were only 2 or 3 of us still screaming, and we were considered the crazy folk. But eventually, we began to pick up other folk. The parents became a lot more involved. The neighborhood people started asking if there was any way that they could help. And by doing this, we banded together not only the parents, but anybody that either lived in this neighborhood or worked in this neighborhood. So consequently, we sort of banded together and we started getting to the right people. And this is how the whole thing really got started. And it was after that that we learned that we were going to have to take a look at the total student that would be here, look into the human part of what would be happening to our youngsters. And we found out that by doing that, we couldn't just isolate the student. We had to take in the entire everyday living pattern of every student here. And that meant going into the home, going out into the neighborhood, working as best we possibly could to...
All that to drop fucking absentees from 30% to 18%.
Yo, the bar is in the hell of hell. Hell's hell.
All of this, and you know you know what everything she just described is fucking white dollars,
Kennedy High School looks different from many other educational facilities. Constructed around a spacious plaza, the new Dunbar is bright and architecturally interesting. Inside, Dunbar is also different from other schools, for it was the decision of the Dunbar Charrette to house within the center many branches of public service facilities, such as the Department of Housing, Probation Office, Social Services, Maryland Department of Employment Security, Manpower, etc. All services which are normally scattered throughout the city. Thus, when a parent or youngster needs help from...
We got a parole office in the fucking school. Parole and probation is inside of the house.
throughout the city. Thus, when a parent or youngster needs help from one of these facilities or agencies, he goes to his school rather than staying away from it. An important feature of the agencies is that they are not mere referral services, but active branches with the ability to function on the same level as their parent organizations. This interview, for example, is being conducted by a staff worker with the Dunbar branch of the Maryland Department of Employment Security.
See if I can get a referral for you. This is location 16-2. I would like a referral on this job. The dot number is 355878. The order number is 831546. No referral.
Another adjunct of the Dunbar Community High School is a child daycare center right on the premises. This facility was planned.
So this
You
is a
have a
school.
daycare center and a high school.
This school currently has a reading proficiency average of 32%.
Oh, that's not bad though. So that means they have some students that are proficient in reading.
Yeah, or I guess maybe that's not the average. It is actually 32% of the students, but then 8% for math proficiency.
That's still really good because most of the schools don't have any students proficient in math in Baltimore. So this is actually they're still achieving at a higher rate than other schools. So maybe all those billions of dollars, man, was worth it, man. The bar is in
58% of students agree they feel safe at school. Well, that's more than half at least.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, man. Yeah, 58% feel safe. Yeah, that's very good. It should be 100, but fuck
The
it.
other 42% were beating people up.
Yeah, those are the ones that's making people not feel safe.
So that small children could be safely cared for, thus freeing older children from missing school because they must babysit for a busy or working parent. In addition, a number of high school-age mothers use the daycare facility in order to complete their education, an opportunity that would not be available to them if there were no one to take care of.
So you got to put a probation and parole center in the school. So if the kid's on parole, he don't have to miss school by going to the parole office. He can just, go to a room in the school. You got daycare in the school. And that's all this to lower absentees from 30% to 18%.
They should put a club in there, and then they'd have everybody would attend.
Yeah, man. This is
Hey,
this
hold
is
on. There's a review of the school from a senior who graduated 9 months ago. The best part about owning Dunbar is the students stay together as a village. We hold each other down. The worst part of Dunbar is the area the school is in. Always something happening in the area and are getting in the way of the situation. My experience been a good experience so far. I really didn't know nobody coming to Dunbar, but in 10th grade, I started growing bonds with students and stuff. So.
Yikes.
Of their children.
Here, open it back up. There you go.
The Dunbar Community High School also differs from other schools in the amount of use it receives, for this is no 8 to 4 facility. Late every afternoon, when other schools are locked tight for the night, activity at Dunbar is just starting. Remedial reading classes, cultural arts, and a variety of other courses and activities are open to youngsters after regular school hours. During the evenings, adults use the facility in many ways. Some have enrolled in adult education courses in order to better their job capabilities. This type of activity, of course, is not unique to Dunbar. What is unique is the degree of involvement of the entire community. For in addition to the more formal courses one would expect at the typical night school, there is a broad program of performing arts for all segments of the community.
The $300 billion in taxes is represented by the pie graph spent by the federal government.
Okay.
It's taken in from the states and the federal and local.
Blended in. Yeah.
As a result, with its programs of music, dance, and theater, the interior of Dunbar Community High School is a beehive of sound and activity during the evening hours.
Try to always keep the baby's attention towards the camera. All right. See, that way you get the face, but you got to turn to the side. It's good using a clock or a toy to keep the. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wow. Fascinating, man. Absolutely, positively fascinating, man. This is what Paul Laurence Dunbar, man. They are basketball power too. They sent a lot of dudes to the NBA.
What city is this in? Is this in Chicago?
Baltimore. It's
Oh,
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Oh
Yeah.
shit! Sounds dangerous.
Let's see this son, man, right quick, man. I want to see what this son man is talking about.
Cannot mark records on what they think. They are the adult. It brings him around to with me, and in some cases, to see how many days do they have me think, and until and getting in front of a group of students or getting among a group of students and talking, because this brings you closer to them closer to you. An intercom is a cold thing. When the principal comes over the intercom, it's an image. When the principal gets close to the students, we have our family meetings. Each class level meets once a month. And that means that they have time, whether we agree with it or not, to get things off their chest, to talk about things, to ask questions, to bring out information. And they sort of look forward to the family meetings, and I know I certainly do. It's your responsibility to go there, and what you're telling me is not recorded. You're telling me something that you think. And until you know that you've been marked out,
Instilling a sense of responsibility also occurs on an individual level. Like every high school principal in every school system, Julia Woodland handles certain disciplinary problems on a one-to-one basis. But her philosophy is that the problem is not hers and the school's which must be solved or ruled upon by her. Rather, she believes the best method of solving the problem is to have the student approach it and solve it himself. Thus, the student must be helped to talk about the issue and arrive at a conclusion. In this case, the student cannot understand why he was marked late on several occasions when he was actually in school.
every month in the year. How many days do they have me marked absent in September, October, November, December? You see what I'm saying? What we try to do is look at a student, not from the immediate infraction or whatever he's brought to the office for, as a bad kid or good kid, but we try to look deeper into it to see what his hang-ups are, what's giving him a problem. Sometimes when I question them very closely and intensely, it might sound like I'm fussing or badgering with them, but that isn't the point. What I'm trying to do is to get him to respond, to communicate with me. And in some cases, students will only communicate when they get a little pressure. You know, they'll sit there and say yes, no, but when you question him one right after the other, and you what you're really doing is bringing him around to some area of responsibility. And I think with this kind of exchange between the student and the adult, it brings him around to realize, because sooner or later, if you sit there long enough, that kid's going to begin to do the talking. And he's going to begin to show you areas where he's going to be responsible, where it's important to him. And this is what we're trying to do, you know, rather than to just give him some directions and send him away, you know. But did you record a late pay? Teachers cannot mark records on what they think.
I was in the classroom, Miss Willis. She gave me my bus ticket.
Okay, but how was she to know that you were present for the day? You know, students come in here and get a hospital slip, take care of some business in the guidance office, and they're not in school for that day.
I'm talking about in order for a student to get their bus ticket, they have to go to the homeroom class, right? They teachers have to put their names in the book to make sure they got them right.
But that doesn't prove that you were here for the. You know what I'm saying. You know just what I'm saying.
But I'm saying is,
I'm saying that if you don't get marked on the record present, that you're absent. I don't care what you come in here and do. That's what I'm saying, and you know that, don't you? Right?
It's like a 5-year-old.
No, it's not. You could come in this building and stay all day long, and technically you're trespassing. But until you get yourself on the record, you are absent. You know that. That's why you're sitting there arguing. Because you know what I'm going to find when I go to look. Because you're going to look and bring it to me, aren't you?
Me and Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown.
Wow. Fascinating. Great show, man. Any final thoughts, man?
We was kings.
It just comes back to no solutions.
Yo, I ate a cucumber yesterday. Never felt so wrong.
Oh wow,
it's crazy, man.
You know,
cucumbers.
Whether it's no solutions or not, maybe there is a solution. I can't imagine what it would be, but it's not going to be a glider thing. They can't fix this. If it's ever going to get fixed, it's got to come from the Sons themselves.
Interesting.
Can't fix nature.
So what you're saying is no solution.
Well, I mean, pessimistically, yeah, that's what it comes down to. It's what it historically seems, but no solutions unless is really what I'm saying.
Full circle, huh?
Yeah, basically.
Same black
time. Same black channel. Out of here. Peace up.